Hey everyone, Joe Brooks with Email and Coffee. Today I'm talking with Danny Lee, who has a totally different name, and maybe he'll tell us how to pronounce it. So Danny, tell us a little bit about yourself, because I know you've had some interesting history behind you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show, Joey. I think we recorded a podcast on my show maybe a little over a year ago, and I think I posted it just a few months ago because I totally forgot about it. My podcast wasn't on my list for a while. I had to focus on other things, and luckily I remembered it. I got back to it, and the episode is on. So if you want to watch that, feel free to check it out. My name is Danny. The full name, the birth name is Danylo Liakhovetskyi, which is too hard to pronounce, and I usually just go by Danny. I'm originally from Ukraine. I moved to the U.S. because that was what I wanted to do for forever. I work in tech full time. I work as a software engineer, um, focusing on backend development, AI. I also have expertise in machine learning. I started a few startups in the past, a few tech companies, products. Um, None of them succeeded in the long run, but they were a great opportunity to grow, to learn about human relationships and business, and learn about how to overcome challenges, um, and, and 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 that kind of stuff. And yeah, besides that, I have my own podcast. It's been growing for the past few months. I host people from business, military, and other aspects of life, just trying to network and to learn from people who I admire, and I know that I can learn from. Um, and that's been growing for a while. That was the greatest opportunity to grow my network and to connect with people. Many of the guests became my friends or mentors or even business partners. There were so many opportunities that I could leverage thanks to the podcast, and that's why I wanted to restart it. And the reason why was because of some hardship on the personal front. I wanted to deal with hardship by putting in work, and that's why I restarted the podcast. And yeah, it seems to be working so far, and excited to grow that and to continue doing what I do. So thank you for hosting me again. I don't know what we want to talk about, but I'm definitely gonna follow your lead and share my insights.
You mentioned hardship, and I think that's something that everyone can connect with. You know, I don't think, even people who think that their lives are easy, I don't think that they're as easy as they think they are. But hardship is what um, builds us. It really shows us our limitations, and in doing that, it gives you an idea of how you can, if you want to, how you can manage those limitations. I mean, there may be instances where you've got a specific hardship, and you'll say, "I'll never do that," or "I got to, I've got to lick this one. I've got to do it. I've got to manage it." So, hardships are something that everybody can relate to. I'm glad that you're doing your podcast and that your strategy is is your own networking. Because that's sort of very, it's not sort of, it's very similar to what I'm doing. Um, I call it paying it forward, because I figure at the end of it, somebody else learns about the person I'm talking with. But I find that it's difficult meeting people these days. There's so much going on, and if you want to meet somebody and just talk business, you don't necessarily learn about them. If you do a podcast and you talk about lots of stuff, now you're getting to know them. And not only are you getting to know them, but you put it up for your audience and your audience gets to know them. So it's really a win-win situation. And it's also teaching you how to listen to people and, learn about them. So when you interviewed me, you were still in the Ukraine.
I think I was already out. I was somewhere in Europe waiting for my US papers. Um, yeah, I think I was in Romania, if I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know that when we were talking back and forth, you were in the middle of trying to get out.
Yeah. So I think the first time we connected was before I was out because um, I don't remember what meeting that was. It could have been Unicorn Universe or something like that. One of those networking meetings
Yeah.
or Tuesday Midday Connect. One of those two. And but then we recorded the podcast that was a little later. I think.
Did you plan? You're in Florida. Did you plan on going to Florida, or you're like, I don't know where I'm going. I'm just going.
I mean, my uncle and his family they live here. They're all U.S. citizens now, and I had a chance to stay with them for a few months before I settled in and then found secured my job and the place to live in. So that's why I moved here. So I had a great opportunity to do it. Safely and with a lot of support. But then once I secured my job and I had freedom to go anywhere, I decided to move here to Pensacola, which is the opposite side of Florida, compared to Miami. Just because the vibe and the culture is something closer to what I like, is here, and I work remotely, so I can be anywhere in the U.S. And that's one of the perks of working as a software engineer, because a lot of times you can choose where you want to live and still work for the same company. And that's what I've been doing. I moved to Pensacola. I rented out an apartment. I have my cat now. I have a truck, and the immigration situation, I'm still working, because once I got here, that was just stage one of the whole process, and now I'm wrapping up my extraordinary talent visa, which is something I've been working on for a year with my lawyers and spent a lot of money, and now I'm at the point where things came together. I just need to send it out to the government, and then to switch to that status. And after that, I have to do the same for permanent residency and then citizenship. So it's a very long and complicated process, but I mean, to me, it's worth it. I would do it, again and again and again, because again, ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to become an American and live in America, and that's what I'm doing now. And spending a lot of time, effort, and energy around this, and it seems like it's working. So we'll see where I am in a few years. Hopefully, I already have all of the permanent papers on hand. Now it's all temporary, but I with how things are going, I expect it to be fine. So that's
I
great.
wish you luck. I wish you luck. Because sticking with that is obviously the best way to go. And it sounds to me like you have the American dream.
Yeah, I already live it. I already I already have my truck, and I'm networking, and I have very specific plans, specific goals on what I want to achieve here. I want to, buy a house. I want to have a family. So that tightly correlates with the American dream. But I'm already living it, even though it's in progress. I still feel like I'm living it.
my opinion is that Americans have misconceived that the capitalist part of the American dream means to make millions and billions of dollars. But I will say that the initial American dream was just the ability to freely work and to freely make your own money, not millions and billions, just your own money and own your own property.
Yeah,
So
I would add to this that I really I really love the American culture, and I'm learning a lot about the history and stuff. And it seems to me that a big part of it is rooted in the idea of land and as you said, owning your own property, and then um, family, and just just having your own piece of land and operating out of that. But then I think more modern version of the American dream is to have a house, is to own a house, and a few cars and have a family, which becomes largely unaffordable to a big part of the population now, um, which is why there is a lot of a lot of opportunities for politicians to try to get to their to power, thanks to this rhetoric, and I don't know what's the solution to that. But to me, it's still about independence and family and owning property. So I think it's kind of what you said, but also I really like the South and these southern houses with like porches and stuff, and even my apartment has like a little porch. It's like a balcony, but because I'm on the first floor, it's basically a porch, and that's what I want to have. I don't know why I love them so much, but that's my vision of my family in the future.
I guess when you're in an apartment complex that has many apartments and doesn't have an outside, right? A porch is a lovely thing to have to sit out at night, or as you come into your house, whatever it is. But it's a little piece of uh, it's not necessarily private, but it's an extension of the outsideness. It's an extension of being outside. It's just you're just not coming into your house to hide. You can go outside and sit on the porch and
Yeah.
look up at the stars, have a drink, have a friend over, some fresh air, listen to the birds, grow a few plants. I don't know. I could not live in an apartment.
Mm.
One of the things that scares me as I'm getting older is what I'm going to do. And I could not have one of these senior living situations where I'm just crammed into a building and I don't have outside. I mean, I need to touch grass.
Sorry to interrupt, but you live in New York. Do you live like in Manhattan or somewhere else?
I live on Long Island, which is
Oh yeah, okay.
predominantly urban housing in very large neighborhoods with lots and lots and lots of people. So I have a small backyard, but I can easily see my neighbors, my neighbors, my neighbor. So I mean, I'm surrounded. Where I grew up in Westbury, we had a large plot, and it was old growth, so I didn't see my neighbors at all. Now the house was new, but but the growth around it hadn't been cut down. So when the house was built, there were still large trees all around us, and I couldn't see anybody. So it was very private. I enjoyed my youth in Westbury, and then I moved to the South Shore, which I'm close to the water, which is good and bad. Good and bad. So, have you considered talking to Lex Friedman, because you have very similar backgrounds.
Yeah. Well, I always wanted to reach out to him, even when I was, I don't know, 16, 17. I was very young. I discovered his podcast and I really loved it. It was very early, maybe before first 50 episodes or so. I was a fan. Um, and a little bit of a tangent, but my first uh, quote unquote relationship was thanks to a fan group of Lex Fridman. I met this girl from America, and it's over now. But at the time, it was the way how I connected with her, and a bunch of other people. I still have friends, really close friends, who came out of that Lex Fridman fan community.
Was
Um,
it a Discord or where did you
and
meet?
it was on Telegram. I also remember the Discord community, which was more of an OG Lex
Okay.
Fridman community, which I was also a part of. And I also had a few friends there. And one of my early podcast guests was actually my friend who I met like 6 years, 5 years ago on that Discord channel. But yes, for some reason, he attracts like-minded people, and it's really easy to make friends through these kinds of communities. But yeah, going back to Lex Fridman, um, I sent him like a DM on LinkedIn, like when I was a kid, and I'm like, "Hey, I really like your work," without any ask. And now I can't follow up because I already sent him a message on LinkedIn. I did talk to a few people who were on his show, so um, it's just a matter of time before I can connect with him because this is how the networking works.
Right.
Um, if
Would
you
love to learn Ukrainian, and you could learn. Well, if you don't know, you could learn Russian because that was his major complaint about the interview with Zelensky, was that his Ukrainian is not good and he needed a translator.
yeah yeah because no, I know, right? Like I'm native in Russian and Ukrainian, so
Then you could teach him how to speak Ukrainian.
yeah. I think his grandmother was Ukrainian, so he has like different roots from Russia, Ukraine,
Yes.
and Jewish roots as well, which is what I have as well. Honest. I think I still have it on my phone. I made a family tree of all of my ancestors who I knew. Like I talked to my grandparents and all of the possible relatives that I still have to make this tree. And in some ways it goes up to like 6 generations or even 7 generations. So I have a pretty good understanding of my ancestors. And it's mostly Ukrainian and Jewish. And a little bit of Russian, not too much. Some grandparents were from Russia, but you're right. We have a very similar ethnic background and similar love for America. So that'd be
And you're
great.
both software engineers.
And we're both software engineers, and we both like AI. His original podcast name was um, AI Lex Friedman podcast or something like that. I really like that as well. So um, one day, hopefully, like I always said that before the episode 50, I'll go to Austin, Texas, and I'll record a podcast with him. And uh, God had his own plans, and instead, I interviewed a bunch of other very, very cool people. Um, and now I'm at episode like 130 or something, and I'm
Good
still
for you.
planning. Yeah, I'm still planning to talk to him, but yeah, that's definitely on my radar. I'm not sure if I can just be a guest on his podcast because now it's a huge media and everyone wants
Right.
to be there. But I don't think it's impossible to host him on my show, develop a relationship, and then go from there. Um, it's just networking, and I've learned a lot about networking because now I have friends in all of the uh, parts of the American society, military, business, government and tech and software and AI and even I'm even interviewing a guy who works for Mr. Beast, and hopefully with that relationship,
Oh,
I
that's
might
cool.
yeah I might get closer to his team because I want to interview Mr. Beast as well.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so I understand how networking works and how I can once I have relationships with enough friends of a person, it's just a matter of time before I can access them as well. And this is, I think this is what um, I don't remember the word. There is this Japanese word like ikigai or something, where it's almost like a thing that you love, a thing that is valuable for other people, and it's like everything coming together. To me, networking is seems to be that because I deeply enjoy it just for the sake of it. I like networking. I like meeting people and then creating opportunities around that. And then um, it's helpful for even for my job. I connected a few folks from business with my with the company I work with to create some opportunities for software business. And I'm talking about potential $1 million projects, and that means that there is also financial opportunity just because of networking. But then a few U.S. Army generals retired. They became my mentors, so now we meet every week with them. They help me with my life or the podcast, which is amazing because I'm really passionate about U.S. military, but also just having people like that in proximity who are basically my best friends now is just amazing. And to me, it's easy because I just love engaging with people on LinkedIn or through other means or going to networking. Like I meet with our local Pensacola tech meetup group every month, and every time there are new people there, I get to know them. We grow closer, and there is always an opportunity, and I just love this. So I haven't got a chance to make this a stable income, and I don't think I should. To me, it's more like a passion project that seems to be growing into something bigger. But already I had so much um, leverage and an opportunity from this. Um, and I don't know, like I think there is like this phrase, and I totally forgot it. It goes something like your I think it's your net worth is your network, something like that.
Your
Um,
network is your net worth. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, yes, like
Yeah.
something along those lines, and it's totally true because you can have you know $1 million and a job and no network, and I believe it's in the long run, it's not as good as having 1,000 friends everywhere who can help you find a job or find an opportunity or even find a house because you know a guy who knows a guy or something. Because with network, it's much easier to build from the ground up than it is without a network, but with some financial, stability. So that's how I see it, and I just continue networking and networking and networking, and that's my
I think
strategy now.
you're right. I think that uh, friends, like once you get out of high school, once you get out of school, and you're in business, the people you become friends with is completely different. It's difficult to make friends, but in many cases, the people you should be making friends with are, I'll use the term peers. So people that have share something similar with you. Um, and it's sort of a give and take relationship. And it's not just a drinking buddy. Yeah, although you can have drinking buddies, I'm not saying that not to do that, but a drinking buddy is just that. But a peer who becomes a friend, so a business person or you know a military person or even a doctor, lawyer, whatever, professional person that becomes that enters your friend group that you can call a friend, that you can call an associate, they're valuable beyond value. Um, and if we look at people like that, instead of looking for people that will say yes to us and drink with us, do bad things with us, I mean, look for people that lift us up, and then realize that you're doing the same thing for other people. That's the relationship. It's almost like a marriage where, it's not necessarily that we agree with each other all the time. It's just that we've learned how to disagree with each other and we can help each other. So, it's it's somewhat of a, I don't know, I don't want to use the term selfish, but it's a different way of looking at your network and who you um, befriend and who you associate with and how to interact with them. It's very, I'll use another term, very mature, very professional.
I would.
I didn't do that. I didn't do that I didn't do that. I didn't do that.
I would add to this, and this might be helpful advice for, especially for young people, and building from what you said, building on this idea. I am very intentional when it comes to people I spend time with. As you said, it's you know, you become an average of the five people you spend the most time with, and it might not be like it might be, you might not become the the real average, but you're still getting closer to becoming a person like they are. And if you spend most of your time with people who you know go out and do drugs, then you're gonna go out and do drugs. It's just that social influence. You can't do anything about it, but what you can do is you can choose who you spend your time with. And what I do is I try to think about five people in my life that I spend the most time with. It's my dad, even if it's on the phone. We're talking every uh, every other day, right? It might be my mentor, the U.S. Army general. It might be my local friend who is probably in his 60s or 70s, but I don't care. And he's a great friend. We resonate on the psychological mental level because he's been through a lot. He has a lot to teach, and he also understands things that I love about these American things, guns and trucks and stuff. Then I have some of my peers, maybe someone from my job, and I try to see, okay, so I have these five people, how I can quote unquote use. But again, this is not just selfish. It's more about just being intentional. What each person brings to my life. This person helps me make sure I'm on track with my health goals and gym, and they can keep me motivated. This person, they keep me grounded so that my ego doesn't become too large because I spend too much time with business people, and now I'm like, I don't want my ego to become. Then I have my father because he can bring his own perspective, and like my dad, I'm very fortunate to have someone who's very close to me, but who can also be very honest with their feedback about me, what I do wrong and stuff. And then I have my peers, maybe people of my age. So with that framework, I have a support network, but I also have a very intentional, by design, a type of person who I'm becoming. because I spend a lot of time with these people, and that's been very helpful because it keeps me balanced, especially when things are going good. I can get some feedback um, to not to make sure my ego doesn't get out of control, or when things aren't going good, I can get motivated by these people because look, they had their hardship, they're still thriving, they're pushing through. So that's what I do. Sometimes I don't follow my own advice, and I tend to spend more time that I want with people that I don't want to spend time with just because in the moment it feels good. But then I always try to take a step back and and with that I'm not being cold or like robotic. It's more like just choosing where I want to spend my time, and I think it's very helpful. At least start to think about that and start to think how these people might influence you is a good step forward.
It's it's a good combination to sometimes let things just happen, and then other times be aware that there, as you said, there are other things going on, and be a little intentional about it. So, you want to waste an hour, waste an hour. Say, I'm going to talk to this person for an hour, hang out, get nothing out of it except enjoy, which is important because maybe you have something to give to him and you're not aware because you're lifting him up, perhaps him or her. So, but to be intentional, there's really nothing bad about that. I didn't think that way when I was younger, and when I was being intentional, I was off track completely. So I had wanted to be a writer, and I was trying to do that, but I was not networking the best for that. And I know that now, and it's okay. I mean, I learned a lot, and I'm still able to tap into all the things that happened to me then, and not. I'll use the term forgive myself. I tap into it and I forgive myself. There are lessons. There are lessons, like you said, hardships. There are hardships learned well, and I don't necessarily need to do them again because been there, done that. Don't want to go back. Thank you. And I'm not bitter about it. For a while, I could have been. It took, it takes quite a lot of work to get that glass half full. It's very important to get that glass. You have to think like that. So I want to share. You said your family line. So recently, I looked into. It was a Jewish registry, and I typed in my grandfather's name, and I found somebody. Needless to say, again in Odessa. So I was told by my grandparents that they came from Odessa, and now it's confirmed. Although he says he doesn't know, it would be his grandfather's grandfather, something like that. He says he doesn't know completely, but he does know of the name. And I haven't necessarily written back to get further into it, but I did touch base. And you also said that you came through Romania, which is interesting because that's how many of the Jews came out of Odessa during the pogroms.
Yeah. Well, that's probably a coincidence in my case because it was just I could I could go through any European country, but Romania just made more sense because it's very close. Um, but my I think my grandfather was Jewish as well, and a big part of my family is Jewish, and I think Odessa historically was probably the most the biggest city in Ukraine, or maybe in the whole Soviet Union, that hosted people of Jewish origin. And obviously, Second World War and all of the terrible things that happened back then, that kind of changed the demographics. But still, I think it's still a Jewish hub, and the culture there is very much influenced by the Jewish culture. Um, and yeah, well, I myself, like, because of, because most of my ancestors are Ukrainian. I don't carry this Jewish tradition, or even the religion. I'm more of a Christian, but still, like, a big part of my family are Jewish, and I respect that a lot. And I understand that culture a little bit, not too much, but a little bit. And it's always interesting to learn about your ancestors and their roots. And um, like, my idea back when I made the family tree was that I want my kids to have some kind of understanding of where they came from. And to me, that's important. And I made sure I saved it in, like, Google Drive and a few other places, so that it's not lost. Um, and yeah, hopefully, with that, and if we preserve this, generations and generations after me, we can have even larger tree. And hopefully, my future partners family is also going to be there in some capacity. So I don't know, I just like that. But I also like cultures in general. And ever since I was a kid, I fell in love with America, and that's why I'm here now, just because I never felt as much at home as I am here, for whatever reason. But I always like to explore and to learn, and to look for things that align with me and feel right. And once you're in a place where you feel like you're in your own plate, and you're aligned with what you want, it's much easier to do everything else with career and jobs and relationships, because it's a different kind of mentality. You're not surviving, you're actually, like, living. Even if it's hard, you know what matters to you and what feels right. So that's a little bit of a tangent in my perspective, but I still wanted to share that.
Sounds like you know who you were, you know who you are, and you've got a plan where you're going.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah.
And I mean, obviously, who you were and where you are is pretty much what it is. But where you're going, that can change. That can change. But you're using a foundation. You're building on a foundation. Um, and where what's your next plan? Like, do you have some plan, something that you're planning on doing? What's your next plan?
Well, I have goals. I have ultimate end goals, and I understand that the way I get there might be bumpy or unpredictable, and there might be a ton of roadblocks and challenges. To me, what's important is to find what I truly want deep down. And that could change as well as I, learn about myself and learn new things, and the world changes and stuff. But what I do is I do a lot of self work and try to understand what I want. And then, like, to me, a few things are becoming a US citizen, like buying a house here, and starting a family, and in terms of career, certain goals. And then I understand that, yes, that's what I want. I don't want to do anything else, at least at this point of time. And I just look for ways to get there. And I have some kind of plan strategy. I have contingency plans in case something goes wrong, because it always does. Um, and what I found is, like, and it seems like this is what a lot of my podcast guests share as well. You know, the road might be bumpy, but as long as your eyes are set on the goal and you're trying to get there, you'll get there sooner or later, unless unless you die. But in that case, I have my own contingencies because I am not extremely religious or anything, but I do have some kind of an idea of what happens after death, and even with that, I know that it still makes sense to pursue my goals, even if I get hit by a bus and I never get when I want to be where I want to be. I still have my own idea of what happens after we die that still gives me a ton of meaning, and with that it's much easier to move forward. So yeah, I have very specific goals. I have some plans. I have some plans B's, C, D's, E's, whatever, in case that doesn't work. But and I also understand that even my goals might change. I might discover, oh, I actually, I don't want to do this. Maybe I just want to, settle in with my family and move to the West and to, to live in a trailer or whatever. Maybe that's what I want to do. And it's not off the table. And that's how I see it. As long as it feels right, I am I'm very flexible, but I'm also very focused on the goals once I discover them.
So, where is your podcast? Where can people find you on the net?
It's on YouTube. It's
What's
called
it called?
Danny Lee Podcast, DNELI Podcast. If you search it on YouTube, it should pop up first because it's been growing for a little bit lately, and it should be the first in the search bar. Um, I don't know if you could put a link somewhere, but if you,
Well, I'll put
yeah,
all that stuff down below.
yeah, and you probably want to also link our episode because you shared a lot of very important things back in our episode, especially dealing with hardship and this whole idea of stoicism, or at least the way you apply that. Definitely worth watching. Um, and yeah, the podcast has been growing, and I've been blessed to experience that. But to me, number one is networking and learning from other people, and then the media side of it.
Well, when you ever hook up with our hero Lex, let me know because I'd also like to interview it. No, I do have a number of people podcasts that I watch, and I like to consider them almost somewhat as porch friends. Like they're not in my house; they're out on the porch. But anytime they want to come in, they can. It's interesting. Podcasts are a very interesting medium.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity, and I always suggest people, if they're into that, if they are, because to me, I was socially shy and stuff, but I knew that I wanted to do this because it just feels natural. So if you feel something like that, just do it. It doesn't take a lot of time, and it gives a lot of benefits. Oh, starting from networking all the way to even monetizing your podcast down the road and making money with it. So it's a great opportunity.
Well, thanks, Danny. I know we've got probably hours and oodles of other things to talk about, but you do have a life, so I'll let you get back to it.
Yeah, I have a meeting I can't miss in like 10 minutes, but
And 10
yeah,
minutes
it's
ago.
no, it's fine. Well, it's been a pleasure, and then it's a great opportunity. Thank you for this for a chance to speak on this platform. Looking forward to seeing this episode once it's out. Um, Subscribe to this podcast, to Joey's podcast. It's great. Not necessarily, it wasn't necessarily about email and marketing, which we can go into on our next episode if you want to do it.
Oh, sure.
Because I've spent a bunch of time in startups and trying to promote it, and even with my podcast. So I have a bunch of things to share here. Amazing opportunity. Thank you for hosting me, and looking forward to the next episode.
Take care. Thanks a bunch. And that's a wrap.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.